Disclaimer: the following program features language not suitable for all audiences, and the expressed opinions found within this program are a reflection of those who feature on the PopCulture Effect podcast. Welcome to the PopCulture Effect. I'm Rockin Rob, and on this show, I bring my closest friends together to talk about all the news happening in our pop culture world around us.
Welcome everyone back to the PopCulture Effect. I'm Gemini, and here today I am joined by some of my greatest friends. Today we have...
What? How did
my brain died!
Yeah, how do you manage to do this every time, Trin? What? When I'm locked away in the editor's dimension, I know two things. One, Subset and Gemini just are not good at starting episodes. No offense.
It's because my brain took a shit. Anyway, today I am joined by Menace.
Hello.
And and today, for a rare opportunity, we have let him out of the goddamn editor's dimension. Norbert the Robbie.
It's too bright out here. I'm tired. Send me back, please.
Everyone else is busy with life and work.
You need me.
Actually, it's more you.
It's more like you need more content for the video, so you joined it.
Well,
yeah, it's more you need yourself.
So it's kind of a give and take.
I mean, I could have been perfectly fine with staying asleep.
Yeah.
No, not allowed.
Well,
Exactly.
I'm not.
See? Proof.
Yeah, dude.
It's more for me, it wasn't sleep. I just have to get ready for work then. But
Yeah, good to be back. It's been a while. I've just been creeping in the background, so hello. I'm back.
It's not really like you're back. You're still in the videos, or in the...
Oh yeah, I never
leave. You're actually like conversing with us versus talking to yourself like a schizo. Anyway.
Yeah. I have an addendum to quickly add, as this is the first recording that I am kind of being a part of in a while, and I'm probably gonna stitch this in at the beginning of Trent's topic. And that is, I was so excited for Uzumaki. I was so excited for the anime, and then the animators got put on such a crunch, and the creator just decided to ship it out because he was like...
What is Uzumaki?
It's basically...
it's a Junji Ito thing.
Yeah. It used to be, it was an original manga that was a really good horror classic. It was like really iconic. And Netflix was going to do a series on it, 4-part series. And everybody was super excited. But then the episodes came out and, it got, but not...
I thought this was Adult Swim.
Oh, no, you're right. It is Adult Swim. My bad. It was not Netflix. It's not Blue Lock Season 2 bad. That is literally just PNGs, going across
I
the
love
screen.
moving PNGs.
I'll talk to Anonymous for that one. But Uzumaki had such promise and such, potential, and I'm gonna read the manga. I'm gonna go through and read the whole manga to actually get an understanding of how good it is, and then I'm gonna get drunk, and I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna laugh, because apparently it's super funny to watch it, because it's like a completely different experience. That is my addendum, so that way I don't have to record it later on in the week and put it in,
It's okay. Give me a couple more weeks and we'll talk about Don to Don full season 1 and...
Moving on from that.
Speaking of schizo...
My topic has nothing to do with schizos.
Oh, okay, then I'll just cut it.
Well, actually, to be fair, let me redact
the elf dude's kind of...
Yeah, okay. Okay, let me redact that. So anyway, what is everyone even talking about? I am so unprepared. We're all talking about
posted
games.
it 5 minutes ago.
It's a gaming episode.
If you guys paying attention, yes, we're having a gaming episode today, and I will be kicking us off with the with the drop of a game that has been near and dear to my heart for God knows how fucking long. It is probably the biggest, not crux, the biggest, it's the crowning jewel of my autismo, if you could, I could lovingly call it that. So just this past week, on the 31st of October, Halloween of 2024, God damn it, I forgot I had an alarm set.
I'm gonna wake up for the recording.
Honestly.
Time to make some
anyway.
content.
Yeah, time to make some content. Anyway, Halloween this year, 2024, we saw the release of the fourth iteration of the Dragon Age series, Dragon Age the Veilguard. And if you have been following this game at all in any capacity, there has been a lot surrounding it. I will admit, a lot of shaky opinions, so to speak. I'm not going to go into too much depth about it because I don't think we should. It's going to get us in a lot of trouble if we do. I'm going to be honest. A lot of like what people have been like. There's one half of it that you could go into that's pretty bad, and then there's another half that is just people being absolute degenerate assholes. We're not going to go into that portion.
I want to go into the thing that, but I want to talk about a little bit the thing that I was talking to you about with this.
Yeah, which we can start off with. Do we want to start off with the good, the bad, or the eh?
I think we should.
I want to go more of this because I don't think, first off, I want to preface at least my issue with it. It has nothing to do with the game. It has nothing to do with BioWare. It's just EA. I hate EA.
Okay, well, I hate EA too. I say is they have a massive like chokehold on both my soul, my heart, and my wallet, and my throat. But that's besides the point.
But so I don't know if you want to go. You start this off.
I mean, what he's going to talk about, it does regard with EA, which they are the big lecherous name that is tacked onto this series. You know, they've leached onto it, and so they've had some issues. BioWare and EA, they've had some issues in the past with some of their previous titles, but with their most recent title, the Veilguard, I'm going to start off with how I personally feel about the game itself. That is not what I wanted. I'm about 14 and a half hours into the game. You may be thinking, oh, but it released not too long ago. Shouldn't you have more? I'm working. I don't have that much time to play it. I've been trying. So far from the 14 and a half hours I have played with it, I am really enjoying the game. It's very beautiful. I feel the characters are. I had some issues with their designs at first, but I feel like and this is something that happened with 2. Their designs are a little shaky, I will admit, on some portions, but as I've been playing it, I've been starting to really like a lot of the characters that they've been introducing. I like the direction that they have taken with some of the designs of returning characters, which I know was also an issue in previous titles. No, not previous titles. That was also, well, yes and no. I'm gonna ramble a lot, and I apologize for this because my brain is scattered just like everything else, especially with this, because I have too many thoughts all in one big old pile of mush.
Well, too many thoughts, lots of new stuff. It's early.
Yeah.
And you've been wanting to talk about this game for a while now. Like
I have. You'd think I would have like my thoughts all like organized. I don't, because I'm not an organized person. Anyway.
Well, BioWare has been kind of like not shady, but like they've been keeping everything pretty close to their chest for their game. This game, haven't they?
They have up until I'd say the last like month or so, because they have been kind of revealing a lot and everything. So at first with Veilguard, they did keep a lot close to their chest. They would release, like I think back in 2019 is when they first released the first ever teaser about it. That's when it was called Dreadwolf. That's when they released the first teaser, and then years passed before we heard anything about it. And then like as we got into the 2020s, further and further, they would slowly drop a couple more hints here and there. It wasn't until the past year when they actually started like releasing things. And like when they released the trailers and everything, the trailer they released that I think I last talked about, or I don't know if I did talk about it, but I did watch it. That is actually the first like, I'd say 10 minutes of the game. That actually is like the full first 10 minutes of the game, which I was a little sad when I did watch it. Actually, it was more first half hour of the game. That is actually what happens, the trailer that they dropped. And on one hand, I was a little sad when I watched it. And then when I played it, I'm like, oh, well, I kind of know what happens. But they did, cut out some parts to, again, not reveal everything. After that, I didn't watch anything else in relation to the game because I didn't want to be... I like going in as fresh as I can with these things.
So I rather them show the first 10 minutes of the game than shows snippets throughout the game and practically give you the whole story.
Yeah, and I think they kind of did a little bit, but I think that was them teasing like returning characters, which I'll talk about that. That was a kind of a messy situation. But they did give little snippets of like returning characters, which is completely fine. Games do that all the
boy's
time.
Back.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the first half hour is pretty intense. Like it kicks off very fast, but it kind of makes sense because when Inquisition ended, especially with Trespasser, like things peaked and it just kept going. When the DLC Trespasser was like the ending DLC that wrapped everything up with Inquisition, but it also left a lot of open-ended because I remember it ended where they're all gathered around a map and they drive a dagger through Tevinter, which back then implied that the next game would take place up in the south. Yes, we're in Southern Thedas. No, Northern Thedas. My compass is mixed up. We're in Northern Thedas.
Did we say up in the south?
Yeah, shut up. Up in the northern part, because for the first 3 games have all taken place in Southern Thedas, which is like Ferelden, Orlais, the Free Marches. They've all taken place in the southern part of the continent. Now we're up in the north, where we have only ever heard about things, and from what I have seen in the game, holy shit, is it beautiful up there. I think that they did an amazing job with modeling and making the background, the scenery, it's all very gorgeous. And one thing I'm going to praise is with Inquisition, they tried to do a semi-open world system with it, and it was okay. Like, it was fun, don't get me wrong. I did have fun exploring the world of Inquisition, the little like open world map bits, but at the same time it was okay. But with this, they brought back the more kind of how to and origins were, where you explored little closed off map pieces. They brought that mechanic back, which I was completely fine with, in all honesty.
More like mini dungeon.
Kind of, yeah. Like you can travel to them through like this, it's called the Crossroads, which is like this kind of like a lore explained like fast travel system. You can still also fast travel as well, just to make it simpler, but like it's a way to them explain like why you're able to go from like this like from this portion of the map all the way across to the other portion of the map through these mirrors called alluvions. They have that to kind of fast travel between all these different portions. And I'm completely fine with that change in direction, because that's technically taking it back to how it used to be. Again, perfectly fine. I do like how every consistent thing in the games is your character could never get in deep water. I do like how they kept that. In the first game, you couldn't even touch water. I think in the second game, you couldn't either. Third game, you could actually like get in water, but it had to be like knee high or like shallower. Same thing here. You like you get dunked in water, you just die. I'm like, okay, so they kept that. That's funny. But anyway, in the beginning portion of the game, it did like kick off. You know, you're into winter, shit's going down, demons are getting spit out of the sky. You and Varric are like, shit's going down. You meet the two new companions that join your party, which is the returning, oh god, what is her name? Scout Harding, Lace Harding, a dwarven ranger, essentially, and a new character by the name of Nev Gallus. She's a Tevinter ice mage. She's like a private investigator. I actually really like her character. I don't think her character likes mine, because I may have f***ed up a choice or two already, but that's besides the point. I do try to play the character that befriends everyone, and I don't think she likes me that much because I may have f***ed up, but that's that. And the whole beginning portion, it's technically spoilery, but this is literally the first 30 minutes and there's already a trailer. Like, the trailer that is out is literally this, so I don't really consider that spoilery.
No, if it's public knowledge, it's not spoiler.
Yeah, it is public knowledge. This was out before the game even came out. So, you know, it does kick off where you go find bald-headed Eggman with elf ears, or...
Yeah, can you kind of just... For people that never played Inquisition, like he was like one of your companions throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, so that was the whole thing with Solus. Is in the third game, he was one of your companions. He was like he was someone you could befriend or like hate. You could even romance this egg-headed mother.
He was such a good boy.
Not really. I didn't like Solus. He was pretentious and annoying.
Yeah, but you know, I kind of like the asshole character.
I do too, but like not this one, because what did you play? Did you play an elf?
No, I played the big
Kunari?
demon-looking dudes.
The Kunari.
Yeah.
So I played an elf, and the thing is, what made me hate him is, so when you play an elf in that game, you're a Dalish elf. They're considered like the elfy elves. They want to try and maintain their lost culture, their lost civilization, they're trying to cling on to their dying culture. So you go into this playing as a character who's trying to cling on to their dying culture, and you're like, oh shit, you're an elf that's also really into what me and my people are trying to do. Let's compare notes. And he basically looks at you and is just like, you're f***ing stupid for doing what you're doing, and you are beneath me. That's actually like how he does act to an elf character in the beginning. He's just like, you're f***ing stupid. You and your people are idiots. So he basically does like slap you across, not like actually, but like he metaphorically slaps you across the face. And I didn't like
the ending though, it does kind of make sense.
It does, but when like this is when I first played it, so I was like, excuse me, and then I beat the game and I fully see why, and I'm like, oh okay, you. I still don't like you.
But for those that haven't played, long story short, he turns out to be the baddie.
You do end up finding out, spoilers for Inquisition, though this game is like over 10 years old, which, side note, this game takes place 10 years after Inquisition. I thought it was just like 3 to 5. It's 10 years. I'm like, god damn, no wonder Varric be looking nice.
I swear that little dwarf man, I love him so much. I swear he de-ages every game.
I know.
Man's got Benjamin Button's disease.
He does. But yeah, so you basically find out in the end of Inquisition that it all kicked off because of your companion Solus. He literally was just like, F it, we ball, I'm destroying the world. Uh-oh, my plan's f***ed up. Now I need to get people to help me.
By the way, got a chaos. Bye.
Yeah, he's basically, and you end up finding out he's the elven god of lies, trickery, and deceit. Fen-Harel, the Dread Wolf. Thus, that's what the game originally was going to be called, but they changed it about midway through development. I don't know why. Didn't really bother looking it up.
A little
Makes
too
sense,
on
though.
the nose, maybe.
Bit of both. Apologies. But a bit of both. But yeah, and then so you start the fourth game off with him doing a ritual of trying to tear the veil down, because that was his whole point. The veil is kind of like this barrier between, best way I can describe it, it's the barrier between the mortal realm and the spirit realm. He's trying to tear that down because back long ago it wasn't a thing, and elves were like more magical and long-lived and elfy-like, and then he did that to close off the world from what were the elven gods, because you end up finding out that they're just very powerful elves that just became power hungry. And so he's trying to...
So little G gods, not big G gods.
Yeah, they're they're little G gods that were just like, we're actually just regular people, but we're very powerful wizards. And so because of that, we want you to worship us because we're the strongest wizards. It's basically like when a lich has too much power in his brain and ends up thinking he's a god kind of deal.
That's fair.
Anyway, so that's basically how the game kicks off. And I'll admit, once that portion like passed through and it kicked off, and then it simmered back down, and let's just say Varric's in the game, but not in the way that I wanted him, and it makes me very sad.
Please tell me he's not your dude in the chair.
He's your dude in the chair.
Oh, my boy.
So, spoilers for anyone who doesn't want to, you can just skip ahead to whenever we start talking about some of the more bad things. Yeah, Varric ends up getting stabbed in the chest, and he's pretty much like incapacitated.
My boy.
He's dude. I thought he was dead. I legit thought he died because he got stabbed what looked like in the heart by this like dagger. Because Solus jabs him in the chest. He survives, but yeah, he's got like a leg brace, and he's like, Bianca's gone. His crossbow.
No, not Bianca.
Yeah, like he's dude in the chair basically. He's dude in the chair.
That's so dumb.
It does, on one hand, it does make sense because I think the whole point of Veilguard, when they even came in it, when they were developing it, they were like, we need a new team. This is new people. It is time for a fresh start. So on one hand, it does make sense. Varric has been with us since the second game. He pretty much carried 2 and 3. Let's be honest. He even says many times, I'm getting too old for this shit. But yeah, he turns into advisor dude in the chair.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
Believe me, I was sad about it too. And some of and I have managed to recruit all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 companions. I had to count on the promotional image how many companions there were, because I couldn't remember. I have managed to recruit all 7 companions so far in my playthrough. I just got the last guy, and I will admit I'm having some issues liking them, I will admit, but I also had some issues liking the Dragon Age 2 companions, which that one until this point has been considered the worst of the Dragon Age games, which I don't even think it's that bad.
I thought Inquisition was thought of as the worst.
I think it depends on who you talk to, but I think overall, just because of the problems that Dragon Age 2 ran into with its development, a lot of people consider that one the worst, but it's because that one got shafted by EA, where it got cut down from years of development time to 16 to 18 months. Yeah, so it's a very rushed game, and you can feel it when you play it. You can definitely see it, you can feel it in the game. So that's why it's considered one of the worst, just because of the fact EA kind of gave BioWare the shaft with that game. People consider Inquisition the worst because they took a very big change in direction, and I can understand that thought process, and that's kind of what Veilguard is having. So, with what I've gathered, what I have seen and experienced with Veilguard so far, one massive change is the combat. I will admit, I'm not a big fan of the combat. I will admit, it's a little clunky at times. They tried to maintain that fast-paced feeling that some of the newer games had, but even more fast-paced and action-heavy. And sometimes I felt like I was attempting to do some Dark Souls dodges, and I'm not good at those. There's a dragon fight pretty early on in the game. It's one of those gimmick fights where you only fight it for so long and then it flies off because everyone's like, oh shit, this thing is strong. You're like, I was only level. I think the level cap is 50, and I was level 16 when this happened, pretty early on in the story. So it was one of those gimmick fights where you just have to get it down to a certain amount of health and then it fucks off. Kind of like when you first meet, is it Lansax in Elden Ring?
Prestigial Sack.
Is it Placidus? I thought it was...
Yeah, because you fight him once...
Whichever one that, like, you first fight it, it's careening down off of, like, the Altus Plateau.
Yeah,
And I think the other one, when you, like, first meet Ronnie, there's a dragon that you, like, fight for a little bit and then it fucks off.
That's her dragon. I can't remember the name of it either.
Yeah, there's 2 dragons in Elden Ring where it's a similar mechanic to that. You fight the dragon for a little bit, and then once it gets to a certain level of health, it fucks off. It was like that. And when I was fighting that dragon, I'm gonna be dead honest, I felt like I was playing...
Lansax, you were right.
Lansax, okay. I felt like I was playing Dark Souls for a minute, because this thing would not let up. And I'll admit, I had some issues with it. I have it on normal difficulty, and I'm like, dude, am I playing Dark Souls at this point? This is bullshit. Kept nosediving me. I'm like, I am a mage! I am meant to be tanking these nosedives from a dragon. And that's another thing,
A mage tanking dragon shots? Is that how that's supposed to work?
No, it's not. But and this was something that I know some people had some complaints with. I don't really care about it because I didn't really do. Fiddle with this mechanic. In the past games, you could take control of the other characters to more plan out fights and have a more tactical fighting style. Because that's how you could in the previous games, where you can take control, you can even pause the game and kind of like, it was called like tactical camera. I never used that. I just brute force my way through it. I let them do their own thing. And that's how this combat system works. You only control your character, and you can bring up this like pie menu where you can have them. It's kind of a similar situation to the tactical menu, but you can't control them. You just tell them which target to go for and what ability to use, and it goes on cooldown for a couple seconds afterwards where you can't do it. I'm completely fine with that. I don't care. I never did it to begin with. I never took control of the characters half the time unless my character got downed and I needed to get them back up. So that part, I know a lot of people were upset about that change in the combat. I didn't really care. I just feel like it's different and I'm still getting used to it. That's how I'm going to say it, is it might only be clunky because I'm still learning the game. And also the fact of, if it's kind of similar to like a Dark Souls-esque style of being on your toes and learning like timing and everything, I'm terrible with that. I'm so terrible with that.
When I was watching some of the gameplay, it looked like you gotta like, I don't know, it looked like you were in real action combat, but it also looked like you were semi-playing Baldur's Gate, where you had to like pull up menus to do your like special attacks and stuff like that. Yes, you do have
to pull up menu to do your special attacks, and that fucks me over more often than not, because I will press the button that I think is the menu to bring up your abilities. No, I hit the button where I shoot my beam instead, and I'm like, now I just got my ass smacked into the ground. Because rather than pausing it to pull up the menu to cast my abilities, I just sat there like an idiot and spit some magic out. God damn it. So that is one portion that I think they could have fixed. I don't know why they added that, because beforehand it was on a radial dial that you could just press a button and it would do your ability. I don't know why they got rid of that. That portion I'm a little upset over, but it's not a deal breaker for me anyway. So with the combat, that's okay. The graphics are very nice. I will admit, I don't know what the it is, but there is some kind of effect, and I'm still trying to figure out what the it is, where everything just looks fuzzy and blurry. Like the teeth look fuzzy and sharp at the same time when they talk. And I don't know what the that is. I don't know if it's a hardware issue on my end, because I think
maybe it's a motion blur kind of thing.
I don't know. It might be, and I don't think I turned off motion blur. Maybe I should test that out, but I don't know if it's a hardware issue, like if my RAM needs increased or something. I do know my computer does need an upgrade in the next year or two. So I don't know if it's a hardware issue on my end or if it's a game issue on their end, but like at times, like the motion blur or whatever it is, the teeth especially just look very fucking weird when they talk, but that's not enough, again, to break it for me. They have a very good system. The game runs pretty well. If you kind of overload your system, it is gonna run like shit. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't call that a game problem. That's down to a hardware personal problem. So when it comes to performance, I think the game performs pretty well. It's just I don't think my setup can handle it at its best, because apparently there's ray tracing and everything in it. I will never see that. My poor computer can't handle that shit. But like I said, I think they did beautifully with everything else. Like the model looks great. I think the terrain looks great. The designs on some of the characters, like the enemies, I think they look really great. I know some people are upset that they changed the look of like the Darkspawn and everything, which are like corrupted beings. And they always change how they look. They've never looked consistent. And in the end, that's what this boils down to. That's what a lot of people are complaining about.
I think some people gotta remember though is that like this game, for its faults and other stuff, like this has told a congruent story over hundreds of years. They have shown that things evolve. They have showed that people evolve in the time that you are not. Well, like
20.
over the entire story.
Yeah.
This is more of one. Even from 1 to now is like 20 years.
Yes.
Holy shit. Okay, well, anyway. Still, like, they've shown that people and enemies evolve in their look and behavior, so it's like...
Yeah, and, like, one of the things that they keep saying is, because, like, they even in the game, they're like, oh, the Darkspawn look different, they're acting different. And it's because of the whole driving plot point with the enemy that is happening, that's why. The enemy is doing something to... It's called the Blight, that's what makes Darkspawn. They're, like, manipulating it, essentially, the true enemy of the game, which, fun fact, it is not Solus. Spoiler, the true enemy is not Solus. He also becomes dude in a chair.
Wow.
Spoiler, Solus, from what I have gotten so far in the game, he is also dude in a chair. Dude in a prison, spirit prison, but...
So he was just a pawn, too. That little
yes.
shit.
So, again, big spoiler, and I'm basically going to be prattling that off. You end up finding out that Solus wasn't doing this to destroy the world. He had imprisoned the elven gods, and you do learn this in the previous game, because they were horrible, horrible slavers, horrible creatures, horrible people. He did this to free his people, while the prison that he put him in a millennia ago is starting to fail. So he's like, shit, I gotta move into a new prison. We come around and we're like, hey, you're destroying the world, you ass. You need to stop. And in doing so, we up and allowed 2 of the gods to escape.
Oh, great.
So it is our fault that the world is starting to go to shit, technically. The player's fault. And Varric's fault. That the world is starting to go to shit. But yeah, the 2 actual enemies are these 2 elven gods, Gillinane and Elginarn. I know, mouthful of a name.
Wait, wasn't that kind of how... I can't remember. It's been forever, and the only one I've really played is Inquisition. But wasn't it, like, something that the hero did before that started the veil to drop?
No.
For Inquisition?
No, that was Solus's fault.
Oh, okay.
Solus tried to drop the veil, but he was too weak at the time, so he kind of like enticed Corypheus to use it, and then he wasn't anticipating Corypheus to get as strong as he did, and he was like, ah, shit, I f***ed up. And you became your character in Inquisition kind of only became Inquisitor because it was like they used the plot device of wrong, like you were in the right place at the wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
accidental hero protagonist where it's just like, oh shit, I'm kind of here.
You just happen to be the only one that can close these rifts.
Yeah, it was like a wrong place, wrong time, but it all worked out in the end kind of like situation. So that's how that worked. Yeah, no, I think I know what you're talking about. So in the DLC for Dragon Age 2, that DLC is technically what kicks off Inquisition, because there's a DLC where you go into a warden prison and you end up accidentally releasing Corypheus.
Oh, okay, yes,
Might be what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
So yeah, the player character his name is Hawk. He accidentally, well, I say he, you can be male or female, but I always played a male. He accidentally releases Corypheus in the DLC. I don't remember what it's called, but it's one of the DLCs. And that's what kickstarts then Inquisition technically. But in the end, like I was about to say, a lot of this boils down to people are upset about the inconsistencies. But what people are forgetting is this game is not known for consistencies. Because one, yes, they have maintained the story and everything that has happened pretty consistently. You have to give them props for that. There have been very few retcons, and if they have, they've been more a few lore retcons. Because this game originally came out in, when did Origins come out? I have to double check.
I'm okay with retcons if it is explained in a decent way. Like, I'm gonna pull out something I've been listening to.
Dragon Age Origins came out in 2010. This game is over 10 years old.
Yeah.
For this franchise.
Like I was saying, Kingdom Hearts has a lot of retcons from Kingdom Hearts 1 to where they show off a bunch of stuff that they didn't even know that they were going to use. But they retcon it in a way to where, like, 6 games later, stuff gets explained and re-retcon to where it makes sense, and you can actually keep everything in Kingdom Hearts 1 all the way up to Kingdom Hearts 3 and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, so, like, I think a lot of the inconsistencies is character designs, which I will admit, some of them are a little concerning. And not even concerning, just like, So the biggest one that people are complaining about is the Kunari, the big horned, like demonic dragon-looking people. Yes, they have changed the most through all of the games. They do not ever
they're
look
5
the same.
heads.
Yes, so in the first game, you didn't see many Kunari, but that's because you don't see them too often. You see them as the games progress because you're getting more and more closer to the north. First game, you see like a few. Like one of your companions is a Kunari, but he doesn't have horns, and they actually did that. And they did end up explaining it why in the lore. Mechanically, they didn't give him horns because they were having issues with the armor and his horns, and at the time, they didn't have the technology, and I don't think the engine was like good enough to give him horns and for it to work properly with the armor they made. So they just made him a hornless Kunari. They ended up explaining then in the lore that sometimes Kunaris can be born without horns, and sometimes that means they can be meant for greatness. And then Sten, his character does, you do end up hearing that he does move on to become a very powerful general. So they did end up explaining why, like mechanically and technically, they couldn't give him horns because the game couldn't handle it. I think they had a lot of issues. But then I do like how in the lore they explained it, then they're like, oh, it happens. And sometimes that means they're great people.
So my question to that is, has there been any more since that?
Hornless Kunari or...
Yeah, like...
They explained that it's a rare phenomenon, and that's why when a hornless Kunari is born, they sometimes can be, it's like a sign of greatness. But they did say it's a rare phenomenon. You can make a hornless Kunari in Inquisition.
Oh, okay.
But then in 2, the Kunari play a big antagonistic role in 2, and I will admit that is when they did look their best, is in Dragon Age 2. They looked very rough, their horns were very great and large. The best way to describe them is they look like very rough tieflings almost. You know, these big horned demonic dragon looking people. 3 is when they started to get a little bit more smooth, but they still kind of maintain that aesthetic. And I think they looked they looked rough because the engine in 2 looked rough. Everyone had pudding face. Everyone had pudding face.
They had Oblivion face.
Yes, they had Oblivion faces. 3 is when they started to get better. They looked a bit more realistic. And again, they were starting to look a little smooth, but they didn't look that bad. I will admit, in 4, they got the smoothest looking foreheads.
So I'm kind of going along with you, just looking at them in the different games as you're messaging them. Who's this one with the eye patch?
The big one with like the big old ox horns?
Yes.
That is Iron Bull. He is your Kunari companion in Inquisition.
Okay.
A lot of people love him. I thought he was okay. I didn't really care for Iron. I liked his character, but meh. Could have taken him, could have left him. And then I will admit, in Veilguard, they do be looking like massive, smooth-skinned things. I will admit, they do look a little funny. The Kunari companion you get in Veilguard, I just obtained them. Tosh's, I'm gonna be dead honest, Tosh's given me like... And she is, I say she, but I think at some point there's like a story portion where Tosh is like, and Robbie, maybe you should cut this portion out because this does start to delve into some of the more questionable things that people are hating about the game.
Oh, I can see already.
Oh, I'm actually
yeah.
To respond to
I'm just not even going to mention it because that's when things start to dive into the really questionable criticisms about the game. Tosh is a character that you meet at some point. They're one of the warrior companions, a Kunari, and I will admit Tosh's character, the personality, did kind of rub me the wrong way because they're meant to be like the stoic, just wants to get things done, dragon hunter, respects dragons and everything, that's great. But the personality just felt so flat. Because then you get back and Tasha's mom is like, you f***ed up, kid. You're joining up with them. And Tasha's like, at first Tasha's just like, well, maybe you should have consulted me, Mom. Maybe I didn't want to do this. Yeah. It's like a but mom situation. The mom leaves, and then Tosh looks at you, and they're just like, it is what I did. It is what I wanted. And it's like, I feel like I'm f***ing babysitting a spoiled brat. Like, that's the vibe I got off of Tosh. Spoiled brat. And I didn't like it.
Kind of upset because I'm looking at them now, and they look very attractive.
Oh yeah, no, when I saw Tosh, I'm like, that is a giant individual. That is a beautiful person. And then they open their mouth, and I just hear spoiled brat, and I'm like, God damn it. Well, back to the short king that is Lucanus.
But okay, so there kind of is something that I've been meaning to ask. So all I've been hearing about is that Veilguard is the make or break for BioWare. In your opinion, does this make or break?
I don't know, because Dragon Age is one of their pinnacle crowning jewels next to Mass Effect, and I think technically KOTOR, SWOTOR, but that one's been kind of quiet for a while, so it's mainly Dragon Age.
And we all know how Mass Effect ended.
And a lot of people are thinking that this is going to be like Andromeda. I don't think it's going to be as... and here's the thing. I didn't have issues with Andromeda, but I didn't play it on launch. I didn't play Andromeda on launch. I played it after, like I think about a year or so after. So I was never that into Mass Effect. I didn't think Mass Effect Andromeda was that bad. And I don't think this is that bad. People were conflating it and making it worse than it was. Apparently, on Steam, it outsold Call of Duty on Steam. The reviews are mostly positive.
See, I wouldn't go for... You're talking about Black Ops 6 for Call of Duty, right? For it outselling? I wouldn't go by that, only because most of Call of Duty this year is based on Game Pass.
You know what? That's fair. I didn't know that.
This is the first Call of Duty that's come to Game Pass.
You see, I don't play Call of Duty, so I didn't know.
Oh,
so it's been having mostly positive reviews on Steam.
I kind of want to go back to what is up with their 5 heads? Why does the front of their heads not have horns anymore?
And like, I get that they have 5 heads because it's supposed to show room for the horns, but there's no roughness, there's no showing of the horn transitioning from skin to horn. It's just skin, and then the hair.
Forehead, and then top of the head is where the horn starts.
Yeah, like that's not how that works. They like that's not how, like, I say that like I have horns, but like I don't. But like that's not how it would work. It would be all like rough and everything, and where it shows the horns growing out of the skin from the skull. No, they just like, I will admit that was a bad direction in their design. That was a bad choice. But I don't think that this is going to break BioWare. I understand that the game has taken a lot of different turns from the previous games, and a lot of people are very upset over some of the directions they have taken and the choices they have made with this game, especially if you really delve into a lot of the more questionable criticisms of this game, which again, I'm not going to go down that path because a lot of the people who harbor these criticisms, they do so from a more discriminatory side.
Yeah.
And I don't fully endorse that or like agree with it.
In this day and age, like, we've been getting inclusive type games for like 3-4 years now. At this point, people are just complaining to complain.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Yes, some of the things are different in the inclusivity from what they've added to this game, but in the end, these games have always been relatively gay. You know, from the first game, you could be in a relationship with a dude if you were a dude, or a relationship with a woman if you were a woman. These games were gay from day one. And they
Can't
have
you just like romance literally everyone in your party, just like.
And I don't think I don't think you can just like be poly in this game. No, but like, yeah, you can be man, woman, in between, and romance anybody in this game. That's how it was with 2. You can
my
do that
main
with 2.
issue with people complaining about that kind of stuff is it's a fantasy world. 2/3 of these races aren't even like remotely human.
Yeah, like. The one is literally a hulking creature with horns. Like,
exactly.
The other one's an elf, and I guess you could say dwarves exist, but
not these kind.
You know, yeah, that's true. Not these kind. These kind don't exist. Like over half the races aren't real. Dragons aren't real. The magic that is in the game isn't real. So
I just find it funny that everyone's okay with you sleeping with a bear in Baldur's Gate, but God forbid. Yeah.
God forbid your character is trans. Like, whoopee-doo. Like, and that's some of the criticisms that I can't stand behind, because, like, in the end, what does it matter? You can ignore it. And I will admit there is at one point in the game where there's a mirror you can look into that I think gives you a moment of self-reflection and everything. And there is a portion in the game where you can choose for your character to possibly go down the path of being trans, but again, it is optional. And once you choose an option, because that's only one of them, because you can choose to either reflect on, I think, your tattoos, who you are as a person, and your scars. Once you choose one of those 3 options, you can't go back. It's not like you can constantly go back and make the choice about it or not. It's you choose one, choose how you feel about it. But like the option I chose is you could reflect on your scars and reflect how you feel about your scars. And then you're done. You don't have the option to go back and like reflect on your tattoos, your gender identity, nothing. And I understand that to some people might think that's a little too in the face. And I know some people don't like when it's shoved in your face. I can understand that. However, again, that is an optional thing. That is something that only happens once per playthrough. At least I've only experienced it once so far. And it's like, it's never brought up at the, it does say if you choose the gender options, it can bring options to explore in the game, but that's if you choose it. If you don't, nothing comes up. Nothing comes up about it for your character.
And I do want to point this out for people listening. This is the M17 game, so like, it's not like kids are going to be playing this game getting these choices.
They shouldn't.
Or at least they shouldn't be, yeah.
Yeah, this is a M-rated game, M17. So yeah, Kitsch, this is not a game that is marketed for children, because I know some people do get heated about that too. I can understand, and we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But in the end, I feel like people were, they were over complaining about something that wasn't that big of a deal. The character creator, I did want to talk about that. I'm talking way too much about this, and I'm very sorry.
No, you're good. I just want to talk a little bit about what we talked about once you're done.
Yeah. Character creator, we'll touch on that. I think it was perfectly fine. I will admit I was very happy for once that you could actually change the body type of your character, because in the previous games you couldn't. Your body type was dictated on your race. Mm-hmm. You wanted to be short and fat, you chose a dwarf. You want to be tall and muscular, you chose a male human or a kunari. You wanted to be average, you chose a human. You wanted to be like thin, you chose an elf. That's how your body type was chosen. Now you can change it, and I like that. Some people were a little pissy you couldn't give your character like big and a fat ass, but I managed to give my character thick thighs and wide hips, and that's fine with me. I don't care if she don't got the biggest in the world. That's fine. That doesn't make or break a game. I'm sorry. If you need big titties to play your game, I think you need to get some fucking therapy and counseling. That's just
You need to stop gooning and get out of here.
Yeah, you need to stop gooning, go to therapy, and touch some grass. Like, you need some help. I'll be dead honest. If that's
As
what
I
you need
sit
to
here
play
with
a
my
game,
buff cup.
well, that's different though. Like, you don't need that to play a game.
No.
Exactly. There are some people out there who need a hot female character to play a game. And if that is,
and I bet you there is one in the game that you can probably romance one.
You can't. Lace Harding is adorable, very attractive. Nev Gallus is very attractive. Balara, I didn't like her design at first, but she's so cute. Oh my god. Tosh, they look nice, but their personality is very, very, very.
I'd romance Tosh.
I would too. Lucanus, oh dude, I love me a pragmatic man who can cook.
Is that your Laios?
Yes. He's not as autistic as Laios, sadly, but he's got a nice Spanish accent.
Ooh.
Davrin? Yeah, I'll just quickly go through all the companions. Davrin's okay. I haven't gotten to explore Davrin's personality, but he does come with a baby griffin, so that's a plus.
Oh.
He comes with a baby griffin, and oh my god, Ansam
like
is so cute.
Plus 20.
It is. And then, oh my god, Emmerich, I'm not into old men, but he is so charming, and his like little skeleton companion just makes the cutest of noises, like, oh! He's a necromancer. His little Manfred, oh dude, Manfred's adorable. So like,
Rudy?
all of the no, because Rudy speaks. Manfred just makes little grunts. Apparently Manfred is voiced by Matt Mercer, and I don't know if Manfred ever does actually speak yet. I just got Emmerich.
Oh my gosh, I just looked up Emmerich. Man looks like Ra's al Ghul. I shit you not. For those of you that know Batman, he looks like Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, he's like a tall, willowy, like old man, like wizard professor. He's a professor. He's meant to fit that niche of when you want to bone your 50-year-old, like, suave professor.
Oh my gosh.
That's basically, like, the group they were going for. I can see it, but in the end, I like Lucanus a bit more. But I I so far am enjoying the game. I think it is a very good game.
Oh, I can see why. I'm looking them up as you're saying them, and I can see why.
What, for Lucanus?
Yeah.
What's that supposed to mean?
He looks very attractive.
Yes. He's a f***ing assassin.
Yeah.
But anyway, when it comes to whether or not this will make or break BioWare, I don't think this is going to break BioWare. I think it might. I think the people that had issues will still probably try to give it problems, but I don't think this will truly break BioWare. I don't think this is going to make them better. Like, I don't think this is going to raise them up, but I don't think it's going to break them. I think this is just going to be able to keep them afloat. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, as sad as it is, yeah, I don't think this is going to, like, elevate BioWare higher in EA's eyes and everything, and, like, make EA think, like, oh, they're very good and everything. Kind of like how Maxis is kind of like EA's shiny little toy, or, like the...
Or The Sims.
Well, yeah, Maxis is The Sims.
Oh, okay.
Maxis is the branch that handles The Sims. Yeah. Who is like FIFA and all that, the sports ones? Are they also Maxis, or are they something else? Or are they EA's own little thing?
EA Sports.
So yeah, like, they're not like Maxis or EA Sports that are like their own little like toys that are like the shiny objects that they love. BioWare, I think, is still kind of the dusty one that sits in the corner, and they kind of touch on occasion. I don't think it's to the point where they're going to throw BioWare in the trash, but I don't think they're their new shiny toy anymore. I do think that there could have been a lot of things that BioWare could have done better for Veilguard. I will admit there could have been things that they could have done better. And again, I haven't finished the game yet. I don't know where the story direction is going just yet. It could be the worst story. It could be the most disappointing story ever. It could end off with a very good bang. But one thing that I have been thinking about is, and it's very sad to think about this, and this is more on a personal level because of how much I love this franchise. I do feel like this might be the last one, and not even due to the fact of whether or not it's the last one because it's bad and they won't be able to. I think it's just where the direction the story seems to be going. Again, I haven't completed it. A lot of people probably thought that about Inquisition at first when they first played it before they finished it. So I don't know yet, but I feel like it will probably be the last one. And on one hand, it makes me sad. But on the other hand, this franchise has been around for almost 15 years. They do have to end eventually.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping that in the end, this game has a solid story, whether or not they've made some mistakes in the direction of the design, in the art, in the combat, like in the mechanics. They've made questionable choices, but in the end, all I care about is a solid story. And I'm desperately hoping that this is a solid story. I should have beat the game before I talked about it, but I just wanted to talk about it so goddamn bad. And also, I didn't want to like date it too much by waiting another like 2 weeks.
That's fair.
To talk about it and make it old news. So in the end, I think it boils down to whether or not this is a good story or not. So far, I think it's a good story, but that's because I haven't beaten it. But just the fact that who the enemies are and how things are going, I think this might be the end of the Dragon Age story. As sad as that is, every story has to have an end. And I'm just desperately hoping that this is a good end. And not even in the sense of like everyone lives and is happy good end, just like it is a satisfying end.
That's fair. But
there were some issues with the more other side of it that were not in relation to the questionable things, more actually legitimate problems. Because I know you want to talk about that.
Yeah. So this was before it released, actually. So there are. Let me actually pull up who this was real quick because I know
this doesn't have anything to do with the actual game itself. This is EA shit.
I'm not sure. It's never been confirmed if it was EA. That's just more my opinion because of how it goes. But this situation kind of has been more popping up as of recently, generally in the gaming space for like the last year or two.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to find. Sorry, I'm taking forever trying to figure out. Okay, so there's been a lot of talk about like review bombing, like a bunch of stuff with gaming reviews and stuff. So in the gaming industry, how it normally works is you have a bunch of people, normally content creators or stuff, where they will react to the trailers. They'll get a review copy so they can do their game reviews. Usually it's people with a certain subscriber count, stuff like that, view count. They go by your analytics, whatever. So for those of you that don't know, there's a community slash content creator slash forum maker called Fextra Life. They do just about every single RPG. They create wikis. They have a whole site where they just have everything for almost every RPG you could name. They were promised a review copy way before even the trailer for Veilguard dropped. They were repeatedly told by their contact in BioWare that they were going to get a review copy. Then it turns out that a bunch of other content creators just didn't receive when it was time, they didn't receive their review copy. And they were all wondering what was going on. Well, it turns out that whether EA or not, or BioWare, whatever, are essentially venting, I don't remember the exact terminology, their reviews. They are looking through these content creators' videos, and if they said bad stuff about, like, one of the people I watch, Astacross, said something bad about how it looked in the original release, like the original trailer that came out for the game, and then he got an email saying that due to stuff that he had said about the trailer, he was not receiving a review copy. It wasn't even that negative, just said that it looks like it needs some more work. Extra Life themselves, in their video, they were saying that from this, it looks like it does still need some work, but they are still, like, word for word, that they are optimistic in how it looks, and they are excited to see what it's like in the future. Because of how they said those words in their pre-review video, they also got an email saying they will not be receiving a review copy after other people were receiving a review copy. And you can go through the reviews for some of these games that have started doing this, and essentially what they will do is they will go through for the content creators, and they will say, oh, you gave me a 7 or 8, you're not getting a review copy. You gave me 7 or 8, you're not getting a review copy. You gave me a 9 to 10, yeah, you're getting a review copy. They are going through and purposefully picking people that give them 9s or 10s consistently on all their games and giving those people review copies just so people will hear only good things about the game and want to buy the game.
That's not good, because, and this is coming from someone who actually does enjoy the game, you need negative reviews. I'm sorry. Even the best games on the internet, on Steam, that have, like, outstanding, like, 10 out of 10 reviews, there is going to be something to complain about. There will always be something to complain about, and I understand that there are people complaining about this game just to complain. However, as I stated, there are also, you need that, because then there are gonna be the people who will truthfully review and will truthfully say, hey, good game, but there's something wrong with this. This might need a bit of tuning, you know? This option maybe wasn't a good choice, so maybe don't consider this in the future. You know, you need stuff like that. You can't just coast off of constantly positive reviews, because, hell, you could even consider my review of it to be kind of one-sided, because I am a diehard fan of this series. Of course I'm gonna tread water and basically be all like, well, I mean, I consider it great because I love the series. You know, you need those reviews of people who are willing to, like...
I'm not sure if you watched the video I sent you.
I watched a bit of it.
Extra Life, they not only review every Dragon Age, every RPG around there, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, all that, they made the Inquisition wiki that exists today. They also, when BioWare's website got bought out and all the forums for the original Dragon Ages were gonna be gone to the ether of the internet, they bought those forum pages to keep them alive and put them on their page. And after doing all this, because of not even negative, just constructive criticism, they received an email saying that they weren't getting a review copy.
I think what ended up happening with BioWare and EA as a whole, and this is kind of what's happened in general with a lot of series that have had a very long life, and it's something that you see happen a lot in things that have a longevity and that are around for a lot. And it is just what happens in general when time is able to hold on to things. It is experiencing the tragedy of entropy and rot, essentially, where the original people behind Dragon Age, a lot of them are no longer there anymore. David Gator, for one, he was one of the driving forces of the Dragon Age franchise. I forget what fully was he. Let me double check. He was one of the lead narrative designers and writers. He was the lead writer and creator of Dragon Age. He left. He did not work on Veilguard. He had ended up leaving the studio and everything. So like a lot of the original minds behind Dragon Age are gone. And I think what has just ended up happening is you lose a lot of that original creativity, the original ideas, and you have these people who are just kind of bringing in their own to pad what is gone. And that is something that happens all of the time, and it is very tragic to see it happen. And, you know, because of that, it loses that magic. It's lost, essentially. And I think the people that have taken over, whether it's on EA, whether it's on BioWare, whoever the it is, I don't think they're happy then that these people aren't happy with the direction they're taking it, and they want to only hear positivity, and that is what ultimately kills things.
I half agree with it, only because one, I hate EA and I know they're money grubbing sons of bitches.
I know, and that's why I said whether it's EA or BioWare who's doing it. It could be both, could be one or the other. But yeah, EA is like, they're not innocent in this.
I honestly think that, and I've seen it with other companies, like I can't think of a specific game, but I've seen other companies where you'll look at their reviews for the game, and like IGN 10 out of 10 when the game is trash, and then you look at the actual player rating and it's like a 5 out of 10, something like that. Like,
yeah,
you can tell that they're venting the critic reviews to make the game more appealing to people that look at the reviews to buy games.
Mm-hmm. Like with Veilguard, you look it up, and like in the corner they have like 3 little review bits. You have Metacritic, 84%. Not bad. You have Steam, 7 out of 10, 70%, but not bad. Then you have IGN, 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. I swear, IGN doesn't know how to go below a 9.
Exactly. So that's why it's like overall, I'll restart that. Overall, the reviews are like semi okay, but then if the fact that like EA was only wanting good reviews, it's like ouch.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe if you gave more people those review copies, you could have had better reviews. You may have had worse reviews, depending on how the review build was made, but you could have had better reviews.
I think the fact that on Steam, which most of those reviews tend to come from actual people, and they're not people that are, like, paid to review, I think the fact that it's still maintaining a mostly positive demeanor on Steam is pretty good for the game in general.
Yeah.
Is it to say, like, that won't go down in the next couple weeks? It might. It might go down to mixed reviews. It might not. You know, but
my main thing is the way it makes your company look, the way it makes your game look. Because if you are purposely picking people that you know are going to be good reviews, it makes the people that didn't get the review, and obviously the stuff's going to come out on the internet because there's no privacy anymore. It's going to make you look like you're trying to hide that the game is shit, whether the game is shit or not.
Mm-hmm. I know some people are a little upset because, like, in the past you could, in theory, and I think this is kind of more falling to what you could do for it in Baldur's Gate, which Baldur's Gate 3 deserved its spot as Game of the Year for 2023. It's an excellent game. Perfect game. As perfect as a game can be. Like, it is so good. And does this compare to it? No.
With the low point we were at when it came out, it was it was a breath of fresh air.
Oh, it was. And is this is this as good? Sadly, no. But I don't think Dragon Age could ever be as good as Baldur's Gate 3. It could have the potential, but is Veilguard as good as it? Sadly, no. But one thing I know a lot of people are upset about is because in Baldur's Gate 3, you could choose any path in the sense of whether you are lawful good, you have a stick up your ass, you do everything right, you are good of the good, goody two shoes, or flip side, you could be the most evil son of a bitch out there and kill anyone in your path.
It's murder hobo time.
Yeah. With this, you really kind of are only stuck with a good playthrough in a sense. You can't be like a chaotically evil individual. However, in technicality, you never really could do an evil playthrough with these games. Yeah, you could be an asshole, but like in the end, you weren't really ever evil. But I think there are a lot of dialogue options that people were upset because they're not as like mean as people want to be.
I also think
But,
that that's more of people saying, "Oh, this is in the same fantasy genre, so I'm going to be able to do whatever I want," like in Baldur's Gate. No, this is a story-driven
or like in
game.
Skyrim, where you could, you could be an asshole in Skyrim, kill everybody. No, that's not how this, I think, ever really worked. Yeah, but like you couldn't look at someone and be all like, "I don't like you," and slice their head off. No, you could never do that in these games. There were some characters where that happened, but that's because it was part of the story. It was like an option you could choose in the story, but that's because those characters deserved it. But it wasn't like, some random person where you're just like, "I tire of you now," and kill them. No, that's never how these games worked. But in the end, overall, I would say if you enjoy fantasy games and if you enjoy the Dragon Age series, I would give this game a chance. I would give this game a shot. If you are wanting it to be something, if you really loved Baldur's Gate, you've never touched this series and you want to try it, I will admit I am shaky in recommending it just because if Baldur's Gate 3 was what introduced you to fantasy gaming, it is not like Baldur's Gate 3. It is very different from Baldur's Gate 3. I would suggest trying the previous games first and working your way up. I know that is something that is very time consuming, but at the same time, these are very story-driven games. While 4 does not have the interconnectability as the other games did, because that was another problem people had, where in 2 and 3, you had world states, and they would coincide with each other with the choices you made in the past games would affect the world state of the current game, of the next game. This one doesn't really have that as much, except for a few choices you can make in the beginning in regards to your Inquisitor, which was the person in the third game. But the only thing with that is that where I am fine with that is this is in the furthest point of the world that we have never been before. Of course, what happened down south isn't going to as heavily affect what's happening up. That's how it works in the real world. Half the time, like what happens over in, say, like, I don't know. What happens in France half the time does not affect what happens in the US. It's just how that works. What happens halfway across the world doesn't affect what happens on the other side of the world. That's just how it works. It can little things like trickle through, yes, of course, but the big decisions, no, they've been set in stone. The little decisions you made in the games aren't going to affect anymore. It's been 10 years, 20 years since the first game. Things are set in stone, and the little choices you made in the previous games aren't going to matter anymore because we're in a completely new slate in a sense of our location. But in regards to that, I think if you enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3, I would give this series a recommendation, but I would not recommend starting with Veilguard first. Just due to the fact that 1, it is completely different, and 2, it is a part of a linear story across all 4 games. It is heavily recommended that if you are interested in this series, try Origins first. It is a very old game. It has not aged well, but I still feel it holds up. Again, it is different from Baldur's Gate 3, but it still maintains that fantasy world RPG style. This is the game that definitely brought me into, I've always been into fantasy, but this is the game that solidified my desire and my autismo for fantasy gaming. So that is what I pretty much have to say, is essentially I recommend it, but only if you are as much of an autismo for fantasy like myself. If you are not, you're more than welcome to pass it up. I completely understand. This is not for everybody. This is a niche of gaming that isn't for everybody, but if you really enjoyed fantasy games and you've heard of this series but you weren't too sure, I would recommend it, especially due to the fact that I'm pretty sure this is the final game for it. I'm not 100% sure, but this is just in like a assumption, a guess. But after my long-winded review, ramble, whatever the you want to call it, Robbie, unmute yourself. What the do you have to say about Nintendo?
So anyways, this week is a weird one, because there were a couple things I wanted to talk about, but then Nintendo dropped this trailer about them having their own Spotify, so I was like, oh, cool, so like, all the people that use YouTube to listen to Nintendo music will be able to listen to an actual licensed app, even though I would, like, Nintendo could just make a YouTube channel for music, but that's besides the point. So I was like, okay, let me load up this app. This will be fun. This will be a fun time for me to talk about, you know, some really cool music, some Legend of Zelda, some Mario, some Pokemon, but they've locked it behind their Nintendo Online service. So this is going to be a different conversation, because
See, I don't think Nintendo Online really is a... you said it like
it's like $4
thing.
a month. It's like about the same as like Spotify.
It's Xbox Live or PlayStation Network for Nintendo,
but a lot cheaper. But now that I'm actually thinking about this, because I've always been on the side of never committing to the Nintendo Online service, because I was always you know, I was always playing the local games. I was never really playing online on my Nintendo Switch. And even with the announcement of this app, all I could think about is like, I'm probably just gonna still YouTube the songs that I want to listen to. But to get into the actual meat of what the app provides, it's really cool because it both distributes these songs both in like the form of which series it's from, and then also character-specific playlists, so you could go in and listen to a Yoshi playlist or a Tom Nook playlist, whatever they have.
So it's more like Spotify than YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's their own version of Spotify.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks to be like a cool idea, but I feel like this should have been the time where they would have put out like a free version of the Nintendo service online, because like Spotify's free. Yeah, there's a premium membership to get rid of ads, but like,
is there a free version of this? Is there going to be a free version of this music app?
No, there's not. You need the paid Nintendo Online subscription to get access to the app, which I guess
nobody's going to get it.
Yeah, because
nobody's going to buy this thing.
They'll just go on YouTube. Exactly. They'll listen to it for free. It's stupid. But with everything else that Nintendo Switch Online offers, this is an incentive for the masses to be like, hey, now we can listen to official Nintendo music, even though you just listen on YouTube. That's the whole point. I was like so excited about this app. I was like, oh my god, like I'll actually be able to listen to video game music and not really feel the shame that I usually feel. But then it's like, oh, you can't get into this app without paying a subscription, which I get it. Everything is a subscription nowadays. Even Spotify I pay for because I don't want ads. But I can't see myself paying for this because I never play the Switch in the first place, and I could just go on YouTube. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I'm not gonna pay $6 a month to listen to.
Exactly. Okay, the one cool thing about it is, like, they have a lot of different options, and, like, obviously with all the IP they have, they'll have as much music as you can find on YouTube. And there's a few settings in it that kind of makes it unique, like you can set spoiler avoidance filters, so that way on specific games you can avoid listening to music. But again, this whole app is, like, it was such a cool concept, but it's so moot. As soon as I load in, and it's like, oh, can't get in. It's like, alright, Nintendo, instead of launching the new Nintendo Switch, this is what you decide to announce. I
feel like Nintendo's just kind of throwing everything at the wall, because all I can think of while you're talking about this is the Pokemon Sleep app as well. And, like, they're just like, yeah, you need an app for sleep, you need an app for music, we need an app for Nintendo TV, we need... I think they're just like throwing anything at the wall other than more games to see what'll stick.
I mean, it is Nintendo. They always try to think outside of the box, but I think this is going completely out of the box and going into a circular box that nobody wants to use.
Definitely
as a holding container.
I tend to disagree with you on that, because Nintendo's been behind the ball on just about everything, including console releases.
Well, no, but I'm saying they always take a unique route to it. Like, every console they make is completely different. Like, who knows if the Switch 2 is going to be a Switch, or if it's going to be their
Haven't the last 3 consoles been all about them being portable?
No, you got me there. I mean, the Switch was kind of a hybrid, but I feel like
which I can understand. Mobile and portable, yeah, and mobile and portable gaming in Japan is like the big thing.
Well, yeah,
nobody uses
everybody's
consoles.
so busy. Nobody has a life. No offense. Because I'm...
No, that's the opposite. They all do have lives, but they want to take their gaming with them during their life.
Yeah, well, that's what I more so mean. Like, everybody is so dedicated to their 9-to-5 jobs and their lives that they have no outside lives to live. That is what I more so meant.
But it's like, I don't know. I think Nintendo's trying too hard.
If this was free, I'd be so hyped for it. I'd actually be so hyped for it.
I would too.
But it's not. I mean, it is $3 a month at the end of the day. It's not that big of a deal on the grander scheme of things, but when you throw it into all the other subscriptions that you're paying for, it's like, is it really worth it? Or should I just go on YouTube and just make my own playlist and then, you know, that's it. That's how that.
Yeah.
I wanted to have this cool conversation about looking into all these different unique series and like maybe obscure series that they just threw in for the heck of it. But I can't even get into the app because I don't have the service and I refuse to pay for it.
I've also only had like the only time I've really used Nintendo Online was for Super Smash, and I think we all remember how the online servers for Super Smash were.
Yeah.
So I only have bad instances with Nintendo Online, so...
I mean, I think I got it at one point, but I couldn't see... Like, I got it at the point where they had, like, literally nothing, and then every time they added something else, I'm like, oh, Nintendo, you're getting close. You're getting close to getting my money.
Well, they originally made it so you could, transfer Pokemon and stuff without having to, connect...
That was, like, one of the
Game Boys and stuff like that.
different ways they tried to monetize you. Well, not necessarily monetize, but, like...
Yeah, you had the cable for the Game Boy Advance, then you just had to be really close to each other for DS, so on and so on. And then they came out with online, and it was like, oh, I can be at my house and trade Pokemon with my friend? Okay.
Oh, and then the Street Pass was a thing? God.
Like I said, I think Nintendo's just throwing whatever at the wall.
I mean, they did just launch it's not directly Nintendo, it's more so Pokemon, but they did launch a Pokemon trading card app, so it's like they literally they won't stop making shit. They made a fucking...
And I will say...
World. They made their own Disney World.
I'm completely addicted to the trading card game app.
And a museum, sorry.
I'm completely addicted to the trading card app, only because I'm a collector.
I got your shiny...
I gotta catch them all. It wasn't shiny, it was just an EX, but yeah.
Ooh. But yeah, I guess that is all I have to talk about for the Nintendo Music app, because I wanted to talk about probably all the awesome music that they get from Donkey Kong Country.
I was gonna say, don't get me wrong. I bet you there's gonna be a lot of great. There's a lot of old music that's really good,
and it's probably gonna be ad free too.
They could probably... It's going to be ad-free because you got to pay for it anyway. There's going to be, You're probably going to get, not just music, but you're probably going to get, new, upcoming stuff you're probably going to get to hear.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. They could probably add to this app to bring early soundtrack pieces from newer games, you know?
Yeah. I'm sure it's not going to be, bad. I've just had bad experiences, so I'm very biased.
Yeah, and then I'm biased on the other end of the spectrum where I'm like, Nintendo's a really cool company that does a lot of really cool things, but then all of them are designed to just take as much money away from you as possible.
Remember now.
Remember when they said stick drift didn't exist? Remember when that happened? And then
oh my God.
Everybody was like, yeah, no, it I need to stop.
All the Xbox players for years.
This is gonna
rose up.
Rant against Nintendo. I can't.
No, we can't do that. The Nintendos will come and get us.
So yeah, that's everything I have to talk about for this stupid music app that is pretty much pointless unless you're a diehard Nintendo fan. And
I don't think it's gonna be pointless.
It's useful for the people that already are Nintendo fans, but for somebody who just listens to it on YouTube anyways, it's gonna be kind of useless. But
if you already have Nintendo Online,
yeah.
Get the app.
It's a no-brainer.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be nice for you to have all your favorite gaming music. If you don't like to pay subscriptions or you're not one for Nintendo Online, you don't need to worry about getting it.
Just look it up on YouTube. I'm sorry. Just look it up on YouTube. But that's everything we all have for this week. I want to thank all my lovely friends for visiting. For visiting me in the editor's dimension or dragging me out, whichever interpretation you want to.
Oh, we dragged you out here.
Thank you so much, Trin.
A pleasure as always.
And thank you, Menace.
Oh yeah.
And I'm tired. No, that has been everything for this week, and probably a couple extra weeks. But we will all see you in the next one. Farewell.
Bye.
All right, I've started recording.
No, you don't.
I mean, I feel powerful, even though I really shouldn't be here. I never should be here. I should be locked away, because you guys never
Yeah, well,
seem to
everyone
let
else
me
is
out.
busy. This is the only time we can record right now.
It's like a gerbil's cage, I swear to God. Anyways,
More free hands.
I'm gonna love the complete lack of energy and I'm gonna date the video here since it's like noon.
I mean, I don't think time stamping it dates it.
Well, yeah, you're right.
I'm gonna timestamp this.
I'll be dating it by
9 o'clock.
saying like when my topic came out, but that's besides the point.